Big Red's Cooking, we make a gourmet grilled cheese sandwich. Hi, and welcome back to Big Red's Cooking. I'm Big Red. So when I started this channel, one of the big reasons I did this, one of my main goals was I wanted people to be able to enjoy better food at home. Now, a lot of chefs love to be able to do fancy food and really show off their techniques, and there is a place and a role for that. But I wanted to make things that are a little bit more accessible. I wanted to take the common food items that you want to make at home, that you eat on a regular basis, and show you little tips and tricks on how you can do it a little bit easier, which is why one of my Technical Tuesdays videos was all around dicing onion, because that's a very common task, and I did another one around dicing pepper. You know, I did the video around brining chicken. I had some feedback from people saying it was the best chicken they'd ever had in their life. And again, it was a really simple technique. It was a really easy way of improving your chicken. And I'll link those videos in the comment section down below if you're curious and if you haven't seen them. So again, like I say, that's been my whole thing, is that I want to take these very common foods and show you ways to make it a little bit easier or to make it just that little bit better for you. You know, give you a few ideas maybe that you've never thought of. And some of these ideas, they're new for me as well. It's things that I've stumbled across in the last couple of years. It's not like I've been making them this way forever. And I'm always open to learning new ideas. So if you have any suggestions for me, certainly feel free to leave those down in the comments. So today I'm going to go after the humble grilled cheese sandwich. Now, you know, this has been a staple for kids for years. And you know what? I personally love a grilled cheese sandwich. I still make them for myself. Now, growing up, like most kids, it was the good old Kraft Signal, you know, a bit of Wonder Bread, a little bit of margarine, something like that. Toss it in the pan, dip it in ketchup. Now, I still like to dip it in ketchup. But generally what I do is I hit it with a little bit of my garlic hot sauce that I make myself. And I'll do a video about that, or probably more so pictures or something down the road. But what I really like is a nice crunchy sandwich, and I tend to use multiple types of cheese. But I'm going to show you a technique on how to use cheese in a way that you probably have never thought of. Now maybe you have, and I can't claim ownership over this whatsoever. I've seen this in other places, but ever since I saw it, I went, wow, that is fantastic. I'm going to steal that, and chefs do this with each other all the time. So what we're going to do is we'll move over to the workbench, and I'll get my mise en place together. I'm going to give you a few little tips and tricks over there. You know, and if you want to use Kraft Signals, go for it. You know what? As I've said in some of my other videos, I'm not eating this. You are. You don't ever really focus on the specific ingredients that I'm using. Think about why I'm using those ingredients. And once you understand the why and not the what, it's going to open you up. It's going to give you a lot more freedom in terms of what you're cooking. So why don't we move on over to our workbench and we'll pick up over there. Alright, so I've got all my ingredients assembled. I've got a couple of containers of different types of cheese here that I'm going to use. I've got my loaf of sourdough bread. Now this looks like a traditional pan loaf, but this is actually a sourdough loaf, and we'll talk about why that's a sourdough loaf in a future video or a write-up or something like that. I've got my butter, which is always handy, and of course I've got my cast iron pans and my different tools that I'm going to need, because I always like to make sure I got everything ready to go right away. So as always, when working with cast iron pan, and if you've watched any of my videos, you know I love cast iron. I'm going to turn that on first because I want to give that a few moments to preheat. So we'll just go ahead and turn that on. Now, really important, don't go turning that pan on high. I turn it on to like a medium at most, or just below medium. I want a nice gentle heat. And what I've discovered, a big mistake a lot of people make, and one I made through the years, was getting that pan too hot. What all that's going to do, that's going to burn your butter. That's going to cause your grilled cheese to burn, and it's not going to allow the cheese itself to melt. The slower we do this, the better it's actually going to be. So we just want to gently heat that, because we don't want it to be a cold pan when we put it in, but we don't want it to be a blazing hot pan neither. So now the next thing I'm going to do, you would think next thing to do is go ahead and slice the bread, but no. Again, a common mistake that a lot of people make is that they have butter or margarine that's just too hard. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to soften my butter up in the microwave. So I'm going to take a nice big lump of butter here, because I'm a big believer that it's better to have too much than not enough, especially when working with butter. We don't have to put it all on, but it'll be nice to have lots there. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop this in the microwave for a few moments and soften this up. Okay, and we can see that some of our butter is actually turned into a liquid. But you know what? That's okay, because I've got my trusty little pastry brush here. I'm just going to give this a little stir around, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to brush my butter on. Now, if you don't have a pastry brush at home, if your butter is nice and soft, you can go ahead and just spread it on like you would anything else. Or a different option for you is to put your butter directly right into the pan. Let it melt. You don't actually need to butter your bread ahead of time. You can get a nice chunk of butter in there, let it melt, and then put that bread right down into the melted butter, and it's going to work just as well. Because what we don't want to do is go and rip in that bread. So now that my butter is ready, I'm not even going to move on to my bread because I want to get my cheese ready. So today I've got some Monterey Jack here, and I'm just going to, get a couple nice slices of this. Now, if you, like I said earlier, if you want to use, good old Kraft singles, use Kraft singles. If that's what you like, that's what you use. You are the one that's eating this. If you want to use orange cheddar, go ahead. Really, the type of cheese you use doesn't matter that much. I've gone so far as using brie before. And if you've ever had brie, you know how soft and melty it gets. So I've got my nice Monterey Jack. I've got a jalapeno white cheddar cheese here. So this is going to give it a little bit of a kick. And it's got some nice chunks of jalapeno into it. And again, if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I love spicy food. So we'll put that to the side there. Now I've also got some smoked Gouda here. And again, Gouda is another nice sort of semi-firm type cheese, similar in texture to a cheddar, but it's going to give it a little bit of a smokiness flavor. And now our cheese is all ready. And I have one more kind of cheese, but I won't be using that one yet. You'll see in a few minutes when our grilled cheese is nearly done, we're actually going to use a fourth kind of cheese. So I'm just going to go ahead and slice up some of my bread here. Now, I don't want bread that's too thick, but I also don't want bread that's too thin. If you get bread that's too thin, the heat's just not going to go through the bread properly. The cheese is not going to melt nicely. If it's too thin, it's just going to burn up. So, just going to take my butter here, and again with my nice old pastry brush, I'm just going to get the top of this a really good soaking. And now I know I got no worries at all about my bread ripping. This is going to allow that butter to really soak in, and that's going to give me that really nice crispy and golden exterior that I'm wanting. So I'm actually just going to take this and I'm just going to pop this right on down to my pan, and we can hear we got that nice sizzle. We can see we got that nice sizzle, but it's not burning. Alright, so now that I got my bread in there, I'm just going to go ahead and layer my cheese around. Now I got a big hole in there, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'll end up going right across the top of that with a bit more cheese, and if it melts down, That's going to be okay because you want a little bit of caramelized cheese. Is never a bad thing when it comes to a grilled cheese sandwich. Oh, look at that cheese, huh? So what we'll do now is we'll take our other piece of bread and give this a good soaking with our butter again. I'm just going to drop that right in on top. And again, if you look here, we see in our pan, it's not a really intense heat. We've got something that's going to cook really nice and slow here now, and this is going to allow that cheese to melt down through, or melt through that bread without that bread burning up. Alright, so this is, I'm going to have a quick look at my bottom here. And that's getting nice and golden brown, so I'm just going to go ahead and carefully give this a flip over. And I'm actually going to turn my pan down even more at this point, because I really want to let that go nice and low and slow. Now I said I was going to use another kind of cheese, and I'm going to. Now, first thing I'm actually going to do, I'm going to give this another quick little butter. Just give it that little bit of extra oomph. But here's what is the real difference maker. Now this is just a store brand. I'm not going to advertise the store brand. But this is basically just that good old-fashioned pre-grated Parmesan cheese. I'm just going to give that a shake right on top. And what we're going to do now in a few minutes, when that other side is nice and golden the way that first side was, we're going to flip that over and we're going to let that cheese brown a little bit in the pan. And while that side is browning, we'll cover that other side with more of that grated Parmesan cheese and flip it over again. So both sides are actually going to cook twice. That's going to give it a little bit more time to let that cheese melt through to the center, but that's really going to give us that nice crispy golden coating that we're looking for in a grilled cheese, and it's going to be like a grilled cheese you've never had before. Or maybe you have. All right, and if you have, you're one lucky person, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so it's been a couple of minutes. I'm going to have a look at the bottom of this grilled cheese here now. Not quite where I want it to be yet. I'm going to turn my temperature back up a little bit. I think my pan cooled down just a little too much, but that's okay. Because what that's done is that's given that cheese that little bit of extra time it needs to melt. And you saw how much cheese I put on there. Alright, so let's have a, we can see that it's starting to sizzle here now. Let's have a look at this bottom here. Yeah, so that's looking good. You can see how nice and golden brown that is. So we'll go ahead and get this side now, a little bit more of that Parmesan cheese. And that Parmesan cheese trick I'm showing you here, is a fantastic way for making garlic bread as well. So if we just took some plain bread, made a little bit of garlic butter, toasted it up, and again, treat it just like a grilled cheese. Let it get nice and golden there, and then hit it with a bit of Parmesan and do a second cook onto it. You end up with this just beautiful, crunchy garlic bread. And that's why a lot of restaurants do. And that's why your garlic bread at home is just not quite the same as what you get at some of these chain restaurants. Alright, so let's have a quick look here. Oh, it's looking nice. I'm going to give this a flip. And look at that. Look at how nice and golden brown that is. It just smells so wonderful in here right now. So at this point, I know I got lots of heat in that cast iron pan now. I flicked that off. I'm going to let it finish for a few moments. Let it do that. And I can see my cheese is starting to melt here nice. I got a little bit of cheese dripping down here. And this is just going to be an amazing grilled cheese sandwich. So we're not going to need this butter anymore. Put that to the side. Okay, so let's have a look at our other side here. Oh yeah. So we can see how nice and golden brown that is there now. So take that on over to our board here. And let's just listen to this crunch as I slice down through it. Now, you'll notice one thing I did not do is I did not press that grilled cheese in that pan. Tell you what, you can go ahead and press it if you want. all you're going to do is you're going to get a flat sandwich. It really doesn't help it cook much faster. And it's just going to destroy the sandwich, in my opinion. You know, so take the time. Don't rush it. You know, some things are worth waiting for, and a really good grilled cheese sandwich, in my opinion, is one of these things that's worth waiting for. So let's move back over to our main counter. We'll have a look at this now. So there you see, it's really not that hard to take that common grilled cheese sandwich and really elevate it. I'm going to take a little bite. You know, I'm going to show you, you're seeing a nice picture of it right now, and what that little pool of that light red colored sauce on top of the ketchup, that's my own personal garlic sauce. So let's just give this a little taste. So much better than the Kraft singles. And there's such a depth of flavor there. I'm really taking that Parmesan cheese and putting it on that top layer. Really adds a whole new element to it. So go ahead, play with this. Add some seasonings into your butter if you want. You know, throw a few fresh herbs in there. I used to work one place where we used to do a grilled cheddar with apple slices. So there's a lot of different combinations. It doesn't have to be the basic old grilled cheese. You really can turn this into a gourmet sandwich in no time at all. So as always, if you've enjoyed this video, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. You know, go ahead and share this with your friends. Keep tuning back. This has been another Feed Yourself Friday video. I'll keep doing my Technical Tuesday videos. Watch for me on Instagram at Big Red's Cooking. Go to my website, bigredscooking.ca, for additional information, additional tips, new posts, things like that. Keep coming back. Keep making yourself some great food, and keep having a great day. Bye for now.